Good evening, dear Chabura. Going through Kol Torah Kula as we are being led by the Rambam, one chapter, one Perek at a time. And we are about to begin Perek Chi'i, the ninth Perek of Hilchis Avodas Kochavin, those idol worshippers and the various rituals, Chuki Agoyim, their Minhagim. And today, as put on the cover page, we're going to discuss buying gifts or any merchandise or for a day of celebration in connection to Avodah Zarah. So, before we jump into today's Chabura, and thank you so much for all that are joining us over here and online, and very special to move together the ninth Perek already. Today, if you left your house in the last few hours, you go outside, you feel it's yellow, right? Believe me, it's yellow, and you smell fire. And I was wondering what this is about, and I did a little research, and what my research came up with is that there are wildfires in Canada. Amazing. And we feel it here. Closer is even more severe, and whether it's dangerous or not, it's probably not specifically over here, that ear issue. But one of the things that reminds me, myself, is how small the world is. We know there's something called the butterfly theory. I want to get the door, I think. The butterfly theory, that when a butterfly flaps, ultimately it affects and makes bigger and bigger waves to the extent that on the other side of the world there is a tsunami. Now, exactly how that works is a good question. It's not my it's above my pay grade. But what I would say is definitely Meruba Mida Taiva, when a Yid learns Torah, it impacts the entire world. As we know, these waves of Torah that our Chabura is making, we can't imagine. We have no anung. And now let's jump right in. It's really, really special when I think about it. How much Yidden learn Torah around the world together. And in addition, when we think about just being metar the avir, processing, cleansing the air. Okay. So we're going to begin halacha aleph with shloisha yamim lefnei chagam, 3 days prior to their celebration. Specifically, it's about if it's in regard to idol worship, it's celebrating a deity or an idol. Also, likach mem v'limkar lam davar maskayim. One is not allowed to buy or to sell them something that is not perishable, that will be around in 3 days. And the reason for that is because on that day, he's going to turn around and say, look at this type of food I have, and praise his getchke, his idol, and you're leading him towards it. You're leading him on, which is prohibited. And for that reason, in the same vein, lil vais memulal voisam, to lend them or to collect a debt, lipara mehem, to lend them or to borrow from them, lipara mehem, or to pay back a debt that you owe them, or collect a debt that they owe you, whether if it's a milva bishtar, if it was a loan given with on a written document that you have to collect, he signed off that I owe you this and this amount, or alamashkin, or you took a collateral, you took a mashkin, an object to be able to collect from if he doesn't pay back. In all these cases, when you pay him back, if you're paying him back, he'll definitely be very excited and thank his deity. He'll have money on that day, and within the 3-day period, he's very excited. And the same thing, vice versa. If he owes you money and he pays it back, first of all, it's a simcha that he's paying back for him, that he's getting this loan off his plate, and he's getting back his collateral, and therefore you're causing him to praise his deity. Well, this is all. If it's a milva b'shtar milva mashkin, there is something that overrides it, which is aval milva al pen ifraim mehem. If he owes you money, but that loan was given just by word of mouth, it wasn't written down in a document, and you didn't collect some valuables to be able to take money from him. In that case, and from him, you are allowed to. Why? In that case, it's mamish like you're saving it from going farloirin, from going lost, because at the end of the day, you have no way to prove it. And the fact that he's paying back is, we consider it to a certain degree that you're seizing the opportunity. Who knows what's going to happen again? This is the time to remind. I go a little tangent here. We know that in the godless of a minhag is a joke. They say that where do you see that a minhag is stronger than a din? A minhag, a custom that Yidden adopted over the generations, is more powerful and more cherished than a din, because we know that priyas chayiv mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to repay debt that a person borrowed money. But the minhag is stronger. We see people metutas nisht. So you see the minhag is more powerful than the din. But on a more serious note, we see that Yidden, and by us we have the opportunity of being mekarev Yidden, and you see that you can have a Yid lost for generations, and what keeps him affiliated and keeps him connected are dafke minhagei Yisrael, latkes, haman tashin, various minhagim that they did, say their Pesach, not even specifically the matzah, bdikas chametz, I saw different things that they remember me Beis Abba, or Ner Shabbos Kodesh for that matter, which is the Rabbanon. These things are etched because they Greichim, the Chassidus explains, they reach even higher in a Yid. It comes from a place where it's not even Mukhrach. A Yid on his own does it. And back to our story here. How did we get there? Because Priyas Chayiv Mitzvah. And the minhag is. Okay, so you're allowed to collect such a debt that was just by hearsay, because it's matzah miyadam. You are allowed to sell them perishables if it's before the day of their celebrating their idol. If it's not going to last till the day, you're going tafshil, whether you're selling them vegetables or gekechts, things that are cooked ad yom chagam, until the day of. In which case do we demand that you refrain 3 days earlier? That's Perek Yisrael. Aval b'shara ratzas, Rashi explains on Gemara that ain't also yom chagam belvad, only the day of their celebration is also, and that is for the reason that we wouldn't be able to survive. Imagine a person has business, and the day when they're rushing to buy, he's not selling, or the days prior to leading up. So if he's not available and he's not ready to do the business, they'll get themselves accustomed to a different vendor, and that's it, and he'll lose his business. So outside of Eretz Yisrael, only the day of is aser. Now, Avar v'nasa imahim, if he transgressed our discussion over here, the Rambam's psak, and he went and did business with them in the 3 days, the money he got back is not affiliated and is not considered like it's swapped for idol, in which case we said that it's toifus, the clip is toifus, and the isser is toifus, and it's chal on the money that was swapped, even chilufei. If it already went through 2 such swappings, still the money will be aser, because it's considered money by the zara if you got it from a yid. However, in this case, if it's about he sold them in those 3 days, that money will not become aser. However, if he did it on the day of, areza aser bana, the money is prohibited. So he takes that money and takes it to Yam HaMelech. Now let's discuss giving him gifts. It's his day of celebrating, and you want to join his simcha. Big problem. Also, the one is not allowed to send a gift on the day of his deity's celebrations, unless you know that for him it's solely cultural. He doesn't believe in this stuff, and he's celebrating because that's what his family is doing. You're allowed to send them a gift because it's the day of his celebration. The other way around. If he's expressing his joy, and one of his ways of expressing his joy is sending you a gift because you're a close associate, you have a problem because you're becoming part of his celebration, part of his simcha, and therefore you're not allowed to you're not allowed to accept it. What happens if you rebuff the gift and you send it back to him? It's going to be heavily offended, and you're running into big issues more than you could pay for. In that case, you're allowed to accept it. However, you're not allowed to enjoy this gift. And he doesn't publicly acknowledge and accept this as a deity. Now, I want to take a moment and share with you. He brings in Simkof Memches. He brings a Yesh Oimrim. We're only in Zman Chazal. Zman Hazeh, the Goyim don't really know what the Getchkes are all about. They don't know Tiv Avodas Kochavin, and therefore you're allowed to do business with them even on the day of, and even on day of. Another thing is that, like the Taisus explains also, that you're allowed to collect loans, even a milva bishtar. If it's Yad Goyim Tkifa, if not Yad Yisrael Tkifa, his hand is he's gonna have an upper hand, and therefore it's always Kumatz Miyadam. Yeah, the kids in today's day and age, we're very lenient. In addition, there has been always the question: is one allowed to buy? And that's what came to mind when I saw the amazing cover page of Levi put together. Is one allowed to buy when there's a sale in honor of a certain Goyish holiday? Is it considered like you're benefiting from the fact that there is this Avodah Zarah? And the answer is, I've seen leading poskim today that are matir. First of all, based on the Ramah, that they don't really understand Bechlal Tiv, Kochavin Bechlal. That's all cultural, and if you dig a little deeper, you'll see that that's the case. Kolshkein, Bitzir, the fact that today's Noitzim, unlike we'll see the Rambam holds that they are Avodah Zarah, the Christians. However, the Ramah holds and sides with the fact that it's Shituf, and Shituf is not that problematic. And Bechlal, there are those that learn that maybe even the Rambam wouldn't hold that way today. So it's not, many poskim allow to, and leading poskim, to buy on days that are associated with even their type of holidays, because at the end of the day, they're seizing an opportunity to make a buck and buy wholesale and sell, make big sales, and it's worth it for them. And it's nothing to do with their, okay. And now let's go back inside. Halacha Gimel. Again, the time that this Isser was in effect, if the day of their celebration, which there were such, that it was like a Meshach Zman. They had a whole series of days. There's 10 days and the like. So the 3 days are before the 10 days begin. So regardless of how many days the event itself was, this celebration, we consider them like one day. And they have the din of the day that we described. And therefore, all those 10 or 4 or 5, however many days, though they are also like that one day that in all, even in Eretz Yisrael, even in Chutz La'aretz, you're not allowed to. And in addition to the 3 days before. Halacha Dalet. Knanim, oivde kachav mazalis, heim. Now this word Knanim was changed by the censor, by those that went through and acted words would be offensive to their religion. The Rambam definitely wrote Edoimim, Targersais, which clearly you see in Ksav Yad Rambam. He wrote Noitzrim, which is Christians. Oide Kav Mazalis Heim, the Rambam, with his opinion, they are idol worshippers. Yom Rishon or Yom Edom. Every Sunday is considered their day of celebration. And Lafichach also Losses Veloses, Imam one's not allowed to give or take, is not allowed to do business with them. Be'eretz Yisrael, like we said 3 days before. So Yom Chamishi, Yom Shishi, Shebachol Shabbos, every Thursday and Friday is also. Ain't so Yom Rishon, not so much more. So the Sunday itself, and obviously Deim says the Rambam, that's what we are noig in all such holidays. The Rambam lived in Muslim countries, so he didn't have this issue. Easy to paskin. B'cholofen, as we mentioned, that today we handle it differently because they handle it differently. In addition to the svara that the sniff that it's considered shituf, and shituf is mutar according to the Rambam. For them to believe in it, it's not us. Halacha hey. Now we're going to move on to something that is real close to us. We just had the coronation of a king in England. So Yom Shemaskan Tzva'ev de Kochavim. If it's a day that they're gathering together, a whole bunch of idol worshippers, lahamid lamelech, and seemingly it's neutral. They're appointing a king. But we know, and if you follow it a little bit, it's definitely highly intertwined with religion because they follow with their religion. They're following ancient practices, and you mama see how it used to be. So when they believed in it, so you can imagine it was 10 times worse. When they really believed in all the superstitious and rituals and the like. So on such a day, so naturally they celebrate and praise their deity. Yom Chagamhu. Even though it may seem like a celebration of the country and patriotic expression of patriotism, It's still Yom Chagam. It's a day of their celebrating their deity, like any other day of holiday. However, if this is his own, he's making his own Suda Seidah, he's thanking his deity. In that case, then he's praising his star, or whether it's the day that he was born, or this is the day that he would shave. They would let their beard grow for a long time and then shave it off. Which is either like a chup or like a mohawk, just on top and shave all around. Which is important to note. I'm going to say this over here. The Rambam has a whole cluster of halachas that the Rambam holds are midin avodah zarah. Name, so we know like that's the way the Galachim used to do it. The Rambam learns that also pas is the kancha, shaving a beard, and peyes harosh. He holds they're all midin avodas Kochavin. Also, not Stilbash, also various different shatnas, I think also. And it's important to note, the Rebbe quotes it in a very serious letter. The Rebbe writes that according to the Rambam, which it's that it's of Israel avodah zarah to touch the beard. According to the Tzemach Tzedek, that shaving with or cutting one's hair with a scissor is like a tar, and therefore that's also prohibited. A chassid is allowed, should go on Mesiras Nefesh, like one of the Gimel Avodas, for not touching his beard. And the Rebbe is pointing out that for a chassid, wherever chassidim live, the Tzemach Tzedek is their mother, the Asra, and they have to follow his ruling. And this can explain it. So it's interesting. The Rama brings these examples of him celebrating Tiglach Haskane, shaving his beard, or Blorisai, or his make the chup exist by taking off Peish. V'yom sha'alabai tutu. V'yom sha'alabai min ayam, a day that he actually finished his journey traveling on sea. V'shiyatz meis asorim, he was incarcerated and was now set free. V'yom sha'alabai mishtel ibnoi. He's celebrating the wedding of his son. In that case, it doesn't become asur for the whole town. It's just his own celebration, and even the people coming and going from that wedding don't. You can still do business. A day that a relative is passed, and they celebrate. In that case, all those that are part of that procession and part of that whole ritual, they are prohibited on that day. Any death that is commemorated by burning on that day, they burn and they burn incense. You see from the sentiments that there is idol worship involved, and don't do business. One should know that when we said on the day of, it is prohibited. Rambam alluded to it earlier, and here specifies and spells it out. That's only for those that serve this deity. They're just taking a ride on the fact that there is such a culture, and they're just rejoicing, eating and drinking. This is what they got used to, but they don't really they admit to this existence of this higher power and the like. One is allowed to do business with all those that are non-believers. Halacha Vav, which, like we said, the Ramah says today, they don't know B'tiva, they don't know what hit them in terms of Avodas Kochavin. They know Gelt, which is its own Avodah Zarah, but that lie that plagues Yidden also, running after the dollar. So, which deserves its own attention one day. We'll get to that too. In that case, you're allowed to do business. Halacha Vav. Dvarim, now we're going to discuss selling them things, objects, items that are uniquely, that they're going to be used for their Avodas Kochavim. And a famous story that comes to mind, the story of Rashi. Rashi's father dealt with diamonds, and he heard that the idol, certain galach, needed for his getchka, one eye fell out, and he needed a second diamond, and this specific type of diamond only the Rashi's father possessed. And as we know, he didn't have much of a choice in those days in Europe. It wasn't a suggestion; it was a demand, and by hook or by crook, it had to be followed at the cost of one's life. So on a boat, he said the way we'll be able to see the beauty of this diamond before we close on the deal is the rays of the sun and the cut. We'll look at it in this way. And while he's passing it hand to hand, he dropped it in the sea. And Rashi's following a huge scene and the calamity. He lost such money, and the Galach, or his messenger, his proxy, had tremendous anah. A Baskel came out and said that in schus of this, you'll have a sun that will shine up the whole and light up the whole world with his ray, known to us as Reb Shlomo Yitzchaki, Reb Shlomo Bar Rabbi Yitzchak Rashi, on Torah and on all of Shas. So, if you know an object is going to be used for Avodah Zarah, you've got an issue. So, Dvarim Shem Yuchadim Lamin, if it's unique to this type of getchke that over here is going to be used. So over here the getchke is such and such, and they need this type of item, and you're the only seller. Also, you are never allowed, regardless of the day, 3 days, 1 day, none of those. You're never allowed to sell them from this. However, things that may be used, but it's not unique specifically, that could be used for other things as well. In that case, you could sell it if he doesn't specify why he's buying it. If he tells you, you're not allowed to sell it to him, unless you did something that makes it invalid to be used. It won't be able to be sacrificed. For example, you have chickens and you take off one finger of the foot, and you know that they're not going to sell, they're not going to sacrifice such a chicken and the like. So you're good. Now, how are you? Just important to, I'm not going to say the name of the website, but I know a fellow chassid that owns a tremendous, a huge website that sells jewelry, and he wants to sell also crosses in Indian, because otherwise he wants to be the one-stop shop. Once they get used to business elsewhere, so then they go elsewhere. But he has within his website, it's really, he gives it's a whole different company. They take charge. He takes no benefit. They process the money. It doesn't even go through him. Just on the front end, that's how it looks. It's very special. On the subject, B&H, for example, on Shabbos, you go on their website. We can't go on Shabbos, but this is as far as I understand. You can't buy, or you could buy, and it tells you clearly it's going to process this payment at the end of Shabbos, because it's Shabbos doesn't do business. Yidalach, Baruch Hashem, the Eibush has one nation. Couldn't have found better. So, back to where we're holding. What happens if he has a mixture of the type of Levoina Zaka? He has pure Levoina incense, and I think it's frankincense. It's called Bechlal Levoina Shcher. It's mixed. So Levoina Zaka, the white and the cleansed, that's what they would serve. However, the Bechlal Levoina Shcher, it's mixed in together with black, I guess coarse and not purified Levoina. Moichra Kol Stam. It's mixed together. You don't need to go as far as believing that maybe he's going to pick out the ones and say. Now, halacha ches. Sell something that will strengthen their hand, meaning will support their service of their getchka. In the same vein, and this applies today, we are not allowed to sell to other people something that can cause damage, can cause a danger to the public. Kigain, for example, dubin. You're not allowed to sell a beer, royas and lines, or klezayin, and various ammunition, or kvalim and chains. Kvalim is, let's say, handcuffs or shalshlois and chains, and that may be used against the public. You didn't go. One is not allowed to sharpen their swords and their ammo. Whatever we have just mentioned is not allowed to be sold to idol worshippers. Also, you're not allowed to sell to Yid that is suspected that he will sell to Goy. You're not allowed to sell dangerous items to Yidden that are thieves. Now, if Yidden live between, on the note of Sif Ches, I want to point out, it's known to us that the Baal Shem Tov, before he would take a wagon driver, a taxi of those days, he would want to know that this is a devout Christian, that he has a cross, that he crosses himself. Because if he has belief, he believes in a higher power, he's safe. You have to know that. That the Baal Shem HaKadosh, they look at Baal Shem to Paskin like the Ramah. Halacha test. If Yidden lived between the Goyim, and they made a peace treaty, in that case, one is allowed to sell ammunition to the servants of the king and his platoons, his brigades. Why? Because they're now not only guarding you, they're fighting on your behalf towards anyone that oppresses and tries to go against our country. Hence, you're supporting all the Yidden there. They're guarding us. We dwell between them now. If there is a city that in it there is an idol, big idol known, this is a known attraction point, and this is the whole city is known for that. One is allowed to go outside of the city, but one is not allowed to go into such a city. We're talking about he doesn't live there, no, you didn't live there. If this was outside of the city, so he's not allowed to go on that side, but he's allowed to pass through the city, just transient, moving through. Now that's just to shorten his way. One is not allowed to use as a shortcut a city that has a getchka. Shouldn't be seen there. This is the unique path for that way, and people that's what people know that path for, that trekking trail. If there is also another way, so people don't believe that he went there. It doesn't look like it's that type of thing. That he's going because of that. He could have gone a different way also. So if it happens, he goes there, that's okay. There's another way also to get to that city. Halacha Yud Aleph. Also livnois im ha'ivdei Kochavin kippah shemamidin avodas Kochavin. There were certain domes that were used specifically for purchase, for houses of worship. So the top, this dome one is not allowed to build. However, if he did, he is allowed to use the money. That's dafke the dome, the top, because it's unique. He's allowed to build the whether it's the traklin, the hall, or the courtyard, that on it will be set this dome, because that's not necessarily unique to it. Now, halacha yud beis. If there's idols in the city. Now, there are decorated stores and non-decorated stores. One is not allowed to derive any enjoyment and benefit from anything inside. Why did they beautify and decorate this store? Is because it's honoring their deity. And if it's not, so why did they decorate it? They decorated it to honor their celebration or their deity. Those are regular stores making business. One is allowed to derive benefit and enjoy and buy and sell or whatever, because not necessarily we're there for this. However, stores that sell idols are in partnership with idol worship, also sachron. One is not allowed to rent that store. You are supporting and giving enjoyment for getchkas, for idol worship. Now, halacha yud gimel. If someone sells real estate to idol worshippers, the money is prohibited to enjoy. You have to take it to Yam. And again, this is specifically what we would consider Avodas Kochavim, not just shituf, which may be mutter for a guy. And Kolskein, like the Ramah brought, we quoted the Ramah earlier in the Mechaber that they don't know B'tiv Avodas Kochavim. Now, however, if they forced the Yid to sell the Begazlu base and practically they stole home, and then they established over there an idol, Mutarim. However, he's allowed to even write it in and they give them the deed in their courts afterwards. Halacha Yudalit. V'chalilin shalai kochavim. Musical instruments. No, specifically a flute. Rambam was quoting. Also, list with them. One is not allowed to use. If it was used to play in their houses of worship, one is not allowed to use it for eulogies and the like. By Yiddish Levaya. One is allowed to go to a marketplace where idol worshippers are selling. And behema, one is allowed to buy behema, avodim, and servants, shvachas, and slave and maid servants. Bigayuson, if they are goyim, that means this is not avodim knainim, which already assumed some of the chiyuvim of a yid. Kolskin, if they were avodim knainim already, because then they're already more shaykh to being shaykh to yid. Ubatim is kramim, houses, fields, vineyards, v'koisiv malber koishalam, and he's allowed to write the deeds in their courts of justice. These are all opportunities, and as if he's saving, so to speak, this money from their hand, he doesn't have a different way to get it. In which case, is when he takes it from the homeowner himself. He's not actually paying taxes to the government. What he's basically doing is he's buying it, and part of the sales tax is going to be given by the seller. By the seller is going to be given. If you buy from a middleman and you're paying him, in which case you're going to pay him part. You're giving him a slice, a cut for what is going to be going toward the getchkis. Also, and even matzah miyadim doesn't give you the right to the heta to support. If you went and transgressed and you bought from this middleman, hence you paid part of what's going to be going to this meches, this tax. In behema lakach, if you bought, for example, a behema, minasher parsaiseho, which means you're not allowed to make it aser, which means you're not allowed to make some animal treif. On the other hand, you're not allowed to enjoy from this behema because it took on Avodas Kochavin, and therefore you cut off the bottom part of the behema, so it can't be used anymore for to work in the field, and neither can it be used to shech. People won't buy it from you. If you bought garments or vessels, dishes, yirakevu, they should go bad. Lokach mois. If he took money or clay matchas that they won't disintegrate on their own, then Yolichem Liyam HaMelech, he takes it to to Yam HaMelech where it will disintegrate inside. Lokach Eved Loy Malim Loy Maridin. If you bought a slave, and again you were talking about a person that bought it from this middleman, and hence you supported Avodas Kochavim, this slave Loy Malim Loy Maridin, you can't help him. You shouldn't hurt him, but on the other hand, you can't save him. You can't derive benefit. He's celebrating for his son or a daughter their wedding day. One is not allowed to take part in that celebration, in that feast. I feel to the extent that even eating his own food also. He's eating it by a gathering of idol worshippers. From at which point does it become awesome? Not only in the day of the wedding, rather from when he starts preparing these festivities for this wedding, and all the days that they're celebrating, these days of feasting, and afterwards for the duration of 30 days. If now he's making a different meal, and it's even after 30 days, but he's celebrating that he came to a new town, and now he wants his friends from that town to celebrate this wedding, even after 30 days, also. If it's within the first year. Now, kol archaka, this is all archaka the Chachamim made. It's a way of distancing us from even the remote possibility of getting too close and entertaining the idea of worshiping. Shenamar the pasuk tells us he's going to invite you. You'll eat from his sacrifice, and then you're going to take from his daughters for your sons as a wife, as zano, and hence you'll go astray. So these are all harchakas, not to get too close to akum. Halach dazayin. Bas Yisrael, a Yiddish tochter, loiseinik as bnot shel avodas kochavim. She should not nurse a child of a idol worshiper. She is developing a child and raising a child that's going to be worshiping idols. And she's not allowed to be a midwife to help a idol worshiper give birth. She's allowed to do it as a business, and the reason is mishum, even though it's making it's a problem, still mishum eva, not to foster any hate. A goite is allowed to be a midwife for a Yiddish froi umenika, and she's also allowed to nurse a Yiddish child. So when it's on your turf, in your property, because they're chashud, if they don't have this belief in an Eibishter, in the Shev Mitzvahs Bnei Noach, they are chashud on everything. And this is in addition to, it's like to note that Ramah says that not to take a goite to nurse your child, because the chol of akum that get transferred to the child. Those that are going to a place where they serve, or a celebration of goyim, where they serve Avodah Zarah. Also, losses v'losses iman. One is not allowed to do business with them. However, why? Because they're whatever business you do, they're going to go there and then celebrate and offer thanks to their deity. Those that came from there, mutarim, because we don't believe that they're going to go back and thank their deity for this deal that you just closed off with them. So you're allowed to, on their way back, you're allowed to. However, they're not going as a group. Shema yukshurim, if they're going, it's like a big group of people and it's a whole stream of people, they may still turn around. They consider themselves as if they're still close and go back and thank. And now, Yisrael, this situation. Alicha motel losses imoi, because he has a Yiddish and a Shama and Bepashas. So we can well assume Shama Yasa boy is gonna regret, and Memela, once he has that regret, even if he doesn't, we don't believe he's gonna thank for this specific Chazira. However, on the way back, Aser, because then already has a din of a mummer. And therefore, if you know a Yid is already a mummer, Yisrael mummer, bein ba'alicha bein b'chazira, Aser, even more stringent than a goy. Now, halacha Yud Ches. Yisrael shalach liyirid shalakum, a Yid that went to a marketplace of idol worshippers, b'chazira, on the way back, also losses v'losses imay. You're not allowed to do business with such a Yid. Because now we're talking about something else. We're not talking about maybe he's going to go back and offer praise. The money itself, this is money that if you're getting it from a Yid and this was swapped for Avodas Kochavin, the money carries the Isser of the Avodas Kochavin. You're not allowed to have it in your house, this money. You're not allowed to swap or get anything from it. Anything may have been swapped for that. Any money that came from a goy, if it's in the Yid's hand, however, you don't have to assume. For this reason, it's simpler to do business with a goy that comes from such a celebration. With a Yid that comes, because by Yid it's even more chamer, where we also suspect, and we also have a problem using the money that he may have swapped for, or may have reached his hand through swapping, or even swap chalifin for Avodas Kochavin. Now, v'loyim Yisrael mumar, as we just said earlier, loy ba'alichasei v'loy b'chazirasei u'mesaimim b'toiv. As we started off, you go outside, you smell the smell of fire, you see this yellow, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with Brooklyn. And the simple answer is there's a wildfire somewhere in Canada. Imagine that. So if a fire that's burning through forests has an impact so far, when we sit and learn together, Kol Torah Kula, enjoyable time, Eden cut out of the day to learn Torah together, how much more so this impacts and affects a ripple effect throughout the entire, sends shockwaves through the entire the United States with Canada and the world at large, bringing the light of the Gula. Now, a gute Nacht, dear Chabura. Thank you for being with us.